Force, and the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me. So be it, Jedi.
Hello, everybody. It is Thursday night. Welcome to the GNN Cantina Happy Hour, where this is always the way. I don't know what this is, but it's the way. So we're going to go with that. I am your host, David. We're so glad to have you back. We've got 2 episodes left. Well, the episode we're going to talk about tonight, and then tomorrow, next week's the season finale. So we're going to talk about Andor tonight. Before we do that, hey, Debbie. Debbie's with me tonight, as always. How are you?
I'm good.
That's it?
Well,
short and sweet.
Short and sweet. All right.
It's Thursday.
I hear you. Also with us tonight is Cam. Cam in focus. He is driving.
Hello.
Through, well, he's driving home. We will have him on camera here shortly.
Cam,
How are you,
Cam
Cam?
in focus.
He's not
The
in
Ford
focus.
Focus. Is that a Ford Focus?
Not.
Right
No. But yeah, I'm doing okay. Just driving home from work. Busy day as always.
Yep. Also with us tonight is John from the Geek and I podcast, Mr. John Descardi. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Good to see everybody.
Yes. And then also with us tonight, we have Mr. John Ambrose. He's one of the writers for GNN. He does a lot of the writings for the website, articles, things like that. How are you, John?
Doing good. How are you?
So we got John, and it's all good. It's all good. So, let's see. Before we get started with Andor, I promised you guys last week that I would find my I'd get my Sam Witwer interviews, get them up, or at least get the track. So I've got those, and Debbie and I tested these out last Saturday, so hopefully we're good now. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Oh, there it is. All right, here we go. Let's try this again.
First, fear. Fear attracts the fearful, the strong, the weak, the innocent, the corrupt. Fear is my ally. So I took that as, that's small when everything is going great.
So there's that one. And then the other one, let's see. Let's see what we can do here. All right, here's the other one. Maybe.
Where he said, I was apprenticed to the most powerful being in the galaxy once. I was destined to become so much more. But I was robbed of that destiny by the Jedi, by Obi-Wan Kenobi.
There you go.
You can't go wrong with starting a show with Sam Witwer.
You cannot go wrong with starting a show with Sam. If you're watching, and we know you probably are, we'd love to have you on. But
You know what?
I wouldn't be able to speak if he was on. I would just be sitting here with a,
Debbie would be dumbstruck.
Great.
You know what's
with your buttery
amazing?
tones.
I was at the very first Retro Expo. I think this was like the 4th or 5th one
Yeah, I think so.
that they've had, and not only the amount of participants that went to the expo, but the quality of the guests in just 4 or 5 shows has skyrocketed. What they're doing over there is completely amazing. I'm just, every time I go, there's always something new and just unbelievable the way they they're putting their shows together. And the next one in Allen, they already have their first guest lined up, and it's not until March. And it's Don Bluth.
Yes.
What?
So, I mean, to be able to get somebody Don, like I'm gonna try and find something Dragon Slayer and bring and you'd see if I can get my Dragon Slayer Xbox.
No, I would have gone with American Tail or Secret of Nim myself, but
Just
Yeah,
don't
the-
bring up Pebble and the Penguin.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. We will avoid that. But yeah, Don Bluth, that was it's gonna be a good show. And this show was great. We had Sam Witwer, obviously. We had Anthony Daniels. Anthony Daniels did not do a panel. But we had couple of the guys from the Aliens movie. We had Tom Skerritt from the original Alien movie. There was a lot of people there.
Well,
And
Anthony
there was
Daniel has to be getting on in years, right? Like how old is he now?
I don't know.
I tell you what, he
Older
walked
than-
right by me, and let me tell you, he is in shape.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, he does not look like a frail old man that, R2D2. Well, he looks good for 70 whatever. Unfortunately, Tom Skerritt didn't look too good.
Oh, Tom Skerritt looked like a corpse.
Yeah, him and Bruce Dern have not aged well at all.
Yeah, but I talked to Tom Skerritt also, and he was such a joy to speak to.
We were told, I was told anyway, I don't know about you, John, but I was told as far as interviews go, everybody's open, just talk to the handler, except for Anthony Daniels. Anthony's already said he's not going to do anything. I'm like, all right, that's fine. But Anthony and Sam, their lines were, what did they call them? The Disneyland lines? It's like a 3-hour wait from this point. I mean, it was all weekend long. Their lines were insane. Sam's was out the door and outside, literally outside. People were waiting outside to get in the door to see him. So, and I don't mean now like outside of the conference room that he was in. I'm talking about like
outside in the courtyard,
trees and grass. I mean,
they were out in the courtyard on a cold day.
You're walking into the con past the line to see Sam.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Pretty much. So, anyway, all right. Let's talk about Andor. This is the 11th episode. We just broke out of prison. We've got one episode left in this season. And this was kind of a Michael Bay episode, but not really. Not the pew pew pew. But there was still enough action in it to where it was fun, but still enough drama in it to where it was again, it was more character development.
Would it be fair to call it a John Landis episode?
Sure, why not? It's a healthy balance.
Yeah.
So, Debbie, thoughts on just the episode in general? Just in general, let's talk about overall.
It was a good episode. It was definitely, I think it's probably the shortest episode. I clocked it in at 39 minutes without credits.
Yeah. So the first episode, which, we did episodes 1, 2, and 3 all together, so it was kind of hard to tell. But I think the first episode was only 39 minutes with the credits.
Was it?
So I think I looked at it today because I do remember that I got done watching. I was like, well, shoot, it's over already. It seems kind of short. And then when on the second viewing, I was like, oh, I forgot all about this. Yeah, this is longer than I thought it was. So, but yeah, it's. I think that's about the average runtime for this particular show at this point. So
we certainly didn't see very much of Andor in this one.
No, and I didn't expect that, honestly.
I figured it would run that way because you've got all these different characters that we've seen, throughout the show. And with next week being the finale, I think they're all just gonna together.
Everybody's looking for Andor, so I did not.
Everybody wants a piece.
So I did not expect to see, and I mean, even you have the ISB looking for him. You've got the Rebel Cell looking for him. You've got Luthen looking for him. You've got who else is out there? There's all of his friends at home because. Oh, I forgot to mention spoilers. People, we're talking about the second to last episode. If you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back and watch us. You're fine. So anyway, you got a lot of people looking for Andor at this point, for Cassian Andor. They've got a name, and I honestly did not expect to see him a whole lot in this movie. I was glad to see he was able to go steal his little suitcase thing back with his credits and his IDs and travel permits and all that other stuff. Which we got another alien. I'll take it.
The Narkinians?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, we got another alien. He was asleep in the bed, but hey, whatever. Whatever floats your boat.
I didn't even pick up on that one. I was too busy feeling bad for the droid. That droid made me cry.
Poor me.
Horrible. And the fact, and two, they kept, and this just made it worse, was the fact that they kept treating him like he's a human. To where, look, we can bring her out here and you can spend a few minutes. I'll even tell everybody to leave if you need a minute by yourself. And it's like, he's a droid. Does he have feelings? I mean, obviously he's sad, but at this point, you're just rubbing salt in a wound, you know?
Well, outside of Andor, I think B was pretty attached to Marva. So, you know, with losing her, and those are probably the only two people really in the droid's life, if you want to call it that. So yeah.
Well, what about Marva's? What about the and this got me, the funeral ritual that they do. I
think that's pretty neat.
I know, right? I was thinking, man, maybe I want to do that. Can I do that? Is that feasible? So if you haven't seen it yet, they basically burn you up. They mix your ashes in with
mortar,
and they make you into a brick, and then you become a brick in somebody's home. There's Cam.
Okay, I'm here. Hi, guys.
So anyway, you get turned into a brick. I honestly was waiting for the whole Soylent Green thing, but you know, hey, Soylent Green is people.
I don't know. I'd have to designate which wall I'd want to be a part of. I don't think I'd leave it to other people to put.
You know what? I bet you can do that. I bet you can specify, saying, "I want to be in the city hall. I want to be in the women's locker room." You know,
it's like with
honestly, as like when they were talking about that, all that I was thinking of was that song, "She's a Brick House."
Maybe you're a brick on your house that you died in.
Maybe.
Well, they said they put your name on it, and I was like, you know, of all the, not that I was really looking specifically, but I'm gonna have to go back and watch the series now. But it's like with all the buildings there on Fixer, it's like I haven't noticed.
That's a lot of dead people.
Names on them, you know. I haven't noticed any names on bricks or.
I mean, that might be a cool way to, you know, Andor gets back before the ISB gets there, and they say, okay, they're after me. This is what I did. Make a brick, put my name on it, and stick it in the wall.
Put it on the wall, yeah.
I mean, I'd have to put it in my will. Do not put me in Baltimore. I hate Baltimore.
We're gonna use John to make the new stadium for the Ravens. So okay, So obviously, if you haven't figured it out, Mom died. Mama Cassian.
Mama Cass.
Mama Cass. Ooh, was it a ham sandwich? Old people understand that.
I thought it was a turkey.
Oh, maybe it was a turkey sandwich. I don't know. It was.
No, I think it was ham. I
thought Elvis was turkey.
No, Elvis died another way.
What the hell are you all talking about?
Elvis was laying bricks.
Yeah. Elvis was doing.
So anyway, now that we've gotten past all of that,
oh boy.
So Mama Cassian has died, and everyone who is looking for Andor now is jumping on this, saying, "Okay, now we need to be there because he's going to come back to try and see her, or he's going to come back for the funeral or the bricklaying or whatever they call it." So, are we gonna?
Deidre's running it like the FBI. She's like, I want it small. I want pictures. I want
get them in a box. Put them in a box so we know exactly where he is and what they're doing.
Yeah, we have two main events going on. We got the Krieger thing, which we got that, and we got the funeral. So I think those are going to be the two biggest things happening.
The Krieger attack, which so we touched on that. They touched on that a little bit in this episode too. With we got some more Saw, which was good, which was great. It's always fun to have some Saw Gerrera.
He's never not scary.
Well,
and he was more paranoid.
It's the eyes.
More paranoid, and especially after he talked to Luthen, because he was like, do you have people following me? Do you have people? And oh yeah, of course I do. You got people all over, don't you? Darn right I do. Who you got? The Tube's over there. You got him.
They could dress Forrest Whitaker up like an Ewok and he'd still scare me. That guy since Fast Times at Ridgemont High has been intimidating.
If you really want a good scary Forrest Whitaker, watch the 4th season of The Shield. I think is the main one that he's in. But he's pretty intense there. Pretty cool.
He also plays Bumpy Johnson in King of Harlem, and he's pretty intense in that too. That's not a very popular show, so I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's pretty good. So, yeah.
Anything he's in is good. I don't think I've ever seen anything I've seen him in. I don't think has been horrible. So, but we got some more Saw. He's a lot more paranoid now. Yes, he's willing to. He wants to go on the. What do you call it? The raid or whatever that.
Yeah, it's a raid on the Spell House Power something.
But he's ready to offer up the ships and everything. But we learned last week that the ISB knows of this, and basically they're going to offer what's his name Krieger up for a sacrifice, for lack of a better word.
They want Luthen.
We haven't met Krieger yet, have we?
No, that's the thing.
We've seen a hologram.
Yeah.
Because they were showing that to Bix there, asking if that was
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They just been throwing the name around, and I guess I must not have been paying as close of attention as I thought I was, because I didn't get it. I was like, who is this guy?
It was something that was brought up. Like I don't remember if it was last episode or the episode before that.
It was the episode before.
So they started talking about him, and it's like, okay, who is this guy? He just came out of nowhere. All of a sudden it's like, okay, he's doing what now? And
well, it's what's driving Deidre crazy, because she doesn't know it yet, but she's looking for Luthen.
Yeah.
And they think Krieger is Luthen. And she is looking at it and she's like, something is definitely missing here, and I'm trying to put it together and I just can't figure it out.
They're looking for Luthen, but they call him something else. Like
they don't
Axis.
Yep.
and they don't know who he is, and it's driving. You can see, and that the actress that plays Deidre is really good because you can see the frustration because she knows that there's another piece, and she's just not getting it, and it's not clicking.
She's there. She's probably like, I'm looking at it. I know it's here. I just need to find it.
Yeah, and so. yeah.
Well, then you get Cyril, who gets a phone call from.
What was up with that?
He didn't get a phone. It wasn't a phone call. It was a
video call, FaceTime,
chat.
Whatever you want to call it. But he gets, a video call from his old sergeant Mosk, from when they served together on Fixer, and he's telling him about Andor, and his eyes just goes all freakazoid. He's like, what?
Yeah.
So he'll be heading to Fixer,
right,
for the funeral
so he's
redeem his name.
We already know that the ISB is there because he's reporting back to Deidre. He's not that. They're there, but just kind of in a small contingent and kind of ducking the crowds at this point. They're not there in force saying, "Hey, look where I am."
Now, do you think that was actually the sergeant calling him, or do you think it was some kind of like pre-recorded type deal that's just meant to bring him back to Ferrix? Because that wasn't a conversation. That was just the sergeant talking. And Cyril just had no clue what was going on. Like he was trying to, initiate conversation, but it just wasn't working. It was almost like those responses were already pre-recorded.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was a lot of static. The sergeant was there by a smelter or something, and there was a lot of static, and he couldn't hear. And
yeah, he might have just had dial-up.
Yeah.
So, when you're trying to video chat on dial-up, it doesn't really work.
What do you mean nobody uses AOL anymore?
And poor Cyril's sitting there. Poor Cyril's sitting there. Anything to get me out of my mom's house.
It's
steals from her.
It's the. What's your email address? I'll find you. I'm the big sergeant at CompuServe.net.
Earthlink.
Yes, CompuServe.
I gotta call him back.
Wait, just wait till I tell my friends about AIM.
Yeah.
And you can see Cyril's just slowly turning into Norman Bates. His mom's driving him crazy. He's like, I gotta get out of here.
I'm just imagining them. I'm just imagining the family dynamic is like Howard and his mother from Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Someone knocks on the door. You just hear, Cyril, get the door.
Who is it? Are you a sex offender?
Nobody wants to do that to you, Ma.
So, I'm gonna call something right now for the finale. I'm guessing everybody's going to go to Fixer for the funeral, and Cyril will bump into Deidre again, and she's gonna go off on him. You're stalking me, blah 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 blah. And he's like, "No, I'm here for Andor. I know he's gonna be. This is his mom. I'm trying to right the wrongs and clear my name, whatever, blah blah blah."
Then they go to Applebee's and get the 2 for $9.99 and have a great relationship.
And they split a cone at Baskin and Robbins afterwards.
Until his mom finds out he went to Applebee's. We don't go to that Applebee's anymore, Cyril. The shrimp was cold.
What a great character. She's hilarious. I love her. Love her to death.
Okay. Could I also say how satisfying it was to see Vel put in her place by Luther's partner at the shop?
Yeah,
she was getting a little too big for her britches with everything, and just watching her just get shut down was so satisfying. It was one of the more satisfying parts of the episode. I was just like, yes.
She said something like, "What do? I do, the day to day and every blah 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 blah." And yeah, what you're doing is wrong. It was great. It was amazing. And the code talking, I loved the code talking when he escaped. It was before he escaped from the Empire, but he's, I didn't get this piece, or I did get this piece, but I had to pay more than I thought I was going to. What about the other piece? No, there's other interested buyers. If you were to show up here, blah 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 blah. And it's like, if you know what they're talking about, it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
you can follow it.
I like when he says, "You wouldn't want us to go to another collector, would you?"
Yeah, exactly.
And it leads to finally our first dogfight of the show.
Yeah, and so good too, man.
Were those lightsabers?
Lasers of some kind.
It was like a Darth Maul light saber.
Yeah, I was like, that better make the Lego set.
And the chafing or whatever you want to call it, that took out the tractor beam satellite. Yeah, he's got a pretty nifty ship.
He's got a nifty ship, and his droid too. I mean, him and his droid are his onboard AI intelligence or whatever it seems really they click together. They work very well together. And John Knight and Kid all over again. So
the thing that's really interesting and entertaining about Luthen too is now you can see he's just going from place to place, tying up his loose ends because he knows everything's closing in.
I don't think he's tying up his loose ends. I think honestly what he's doing, because he mentioned something about this to Saw when he got down there, and Saw was like, "Oh, I only fight I want strategic, and I'm gonna take all the whatever. I'm taking the lead on my group, so and he was like, no, you're gonna have to take from everybody, and he's like, no, I'd work better alone. And he said something along the lines of, no, I'm trying to fix that to where we work together. I think he's using more of or he's trying to do more of a I'm trying to bring all of these rebel cells that are fighting the Empire in one way or another into one big collective, one rebellion, if you will.
A bigger network.
Yes,
Luthen
exactly.
is like the godfather of the rebellion.
Luthen reminds me of, and Debbie will probably know this, in the old legend stories, there were three major players for the rebellion. Three people that really kicked off the rebellion. One of them was Mon Mothma, the other one was Admiral Akbar, and the third was what was his name? Garmbel Ibis? Was that his name?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
So anyway, he was a Corellian. And basically, once the rebellion started, he thought it was too dangerous or something. He ducked out and he said, "I'm done." But he was one of the ones that basically started the rebellion. He was one of the big three that started the rebellion, and that's kind of the way I'm looking at Luthen now, to where he's this. You've got Mon Mothma, who's going to be the lead, and then you've got Admiral Akbar, who's like the militant leader, and then you've got Luthen, he collects all the intelligence and he knows where everything is and he can get into places. And
well, the way that I've been thinking of it is that Luthen as Axis is, in Andor is kind of the same as Ahsoka as Fulcrum in Rebels.
Yeah,
because she was going around basically doing the same thing he was doing. So, each pocket of the galaxy has small rebel cells, and they all have their head that has their special code name that brings them all together, I think.
But I think Luthen, if he doesn't think the walls are closing in, I think he realizes that he's walking on a razor's edge, and he is going into DEFCON mode. He's not taking any prisoners.
He is, but he's not taking any prisoners. But he was all dead set on going back to Coruscant too. And she kept telling him, no, stay away. Because they're looking for you. So just stay where you are and just complicate things. and that may have had something to do with what's her name coming to see and saying, kept telling her, where is he? Where is he? I need to talk to him. Where is he? Where is he? So maybe because she's on planet, she's like, no, just stay away until she goes home.
Well, yeah, because if they're both on the same planet, that's going to set up a bunch of red flags.
Oh yeah. So
where's Bail Organa in all this?
I hope he stays away, honestly. I really do.
Keep the Skywalkers out of it.
No. It has nothing to do with the Skywalkers. I'm looking at it more of you're dealing with a lot of stuff that's going on that has nothing to do with characters we've dealt with before. You know, I mean, Andor, yes, we dealt with him in Rogue One, but that's like the only one. All of these other characters that are coming up, we've never seen before. And
doesn't Organa come up later? He's not really a player now. He
does in Rogue One.
In Rogue One.
In Rogue One, and that's a little ways off.
That's he's still 5 years down the road. Or whatever.
He's a senator right now doing his own thing.
Well, he's also involved with the Rebels in the show Rebels because I don't remember what episode it was, but I mean he was in league with Ahsoka, and if you read the Ahsoka novel, it goes into detail about how he was forming his own rebel cell.
I mean, I kind of like the fact that he's not in it because it leaves the universe broad, and you don't have to tie everything in together.
And I think that's what it needs is we need this is Star Wars, but it's not Skywalker Star Wars, for lack of a better term. It doesn't have it doesn't fit with the movies. It's what's going on behind the movies. While the movies are happening, this is what's going on in the background.
And honestly, that's what a lot of fans have wanted. So they're finally delivering on it. And
which is great. Love it. And
I just wish more people would watch it.
But honestly, everybody that has watched it has said, I mean, there's been nothing, and we talked a little bit about this last week. The reviews for it have been, I mean, the Rotten Tomatoes are like through the roof. This is like the highest rated Star Wars thing that Disney has put out. This is the highest rated Star Wars property that has come out under the Disney umbrella.
And on TikTok, people on TikTok talk about it. I mean, you know, I'm not going to say it's the biggest thing on TikTok, but people do talk about it on TikTok. I follow quite a few content creators who talk about it every week.
But Disney just isn't doing a good job marketing it. And if this show was on HBO or Paramount Plus, it would be water cooler talk. Everybody would be watching it. It would be a hit. It would be indisputable, and it's kind of like bordering cult viewership right now.
Pushed it a lot before the show actually started. There was a lot of press, a lot of commercials, things like that, and even after the first 2 or 3 episodes, first 3 episodes, there was still a whole lot of, hey, check out Andor next week, and blah 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 blah, and all of this, and then all of a sudden, yeah, you're right, it just went. It kind of.
Well, I think a lot of people, and I'm not sure what the mindset is, but a lot of people are waiting until the season is done to binge it. And I also think they're waiting to see how this whole season goes. If it's going to be a crapshoot at the end, you know, whatever. But yeah, I think, and you know, because you hear, at least I do, hear a lot of people. David G, for one, you know, who didn't care for Rogue One. But you know, why would I watch this show? It's not a character I care about, or blah 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 blah. We all know he's gonna die, blah blah blah.
I have the same problem. I liked Rogue One, but I had the same problems that Dave did too, with the character development and all that. But this show is actually enhancing Rogue One for me, so it's really making it a better movie.
And really, you know what? I'll say that too, because I've watched, since this show has started, I've watched Rogue One like 3 or 4 times. Just because when I get done with an episode, I'm like, I really want to go back and watch Rogue One again. Just because.
So it's retroactively making Rogue One. It's bumping it up the list.
It's making a better movie. I mean,
that's the point of these shows and the whole expanded universe in general with the books and the comics and all that is they're supposed to make the cinematic material better. I mean that's literally the point. So yay.
I mean, it's just I think Disney needs to market it a little better in the second season. They need to push it a little better.
I think I read somewhere that second season actually starts filming, or maybe has started filming.
They already started filming.
I think it was this week, right?
It was sometime earlier this month they started filming. So,
okay.
I mean, it's a sad but true opinion with the way Disney has handled the franchise that Star Wars is no longer the cultural phenomenon it was. And you actually have to, 15 years ago, you put something with Star Wars out, you didn't even have to market it. They actually have to market it now. They dropped the ball with a couple of things. Solo was a misstep. Some things underperformed. The shows were ill-received.
Because it was released at the wrong time.
And they didn't market it for beans.
It was released, because it was released 5 months after The Last Jedi. You could have gone literally to the theater when Solo came out and watched The Last Jedi and Solo back to back.
Well, I think part of the problem too is Star Wars has a lot of competition right now. Because back when the prequels were coming out, we didn't have these crazy massive budget, huge IP comic book films and stuff like that are coming out. I mean, unfortunately, Star Wars is having to compete with Marvel, even though they're both under the Disney brand. So, I mean,
the only thing the prequels really had to go against was Austin Powers and the Matrix movies.
But Disney also isn't strategizing the way they used to. You used to have Disney animation would come out, it would alternate with Pixar. One would come out, then the other would come out. Marvel would come out under Iger, you'd have a Marvel movie, then you'd have a Star Wars movie. Now it's like they're loading everything into a skeet gun and just shooting it at the consumer. So it's really hard to just grasp every piece of content that's getting put out.
Oh yeah.
There's no order to it.
Totally agree with you there, but and at the same time, that's also one of the cons of Disney owning so many studios.
Properties.
Yeah, exactly. But because now, in addition to having to do their own stuff, now they're having to do everybody else's stuff too. So when you have all of these huge franchises under one umbrella, I mean, you're gonna get some oversaturation, and that's the unfortunate truth.
They should do it the way that General Motors did it in its heyday, and they had 5 brands. And it'd be like, okay, Oldsmobile's releasing the Cutlass. The new Cutlass is coming out in January, so let's roll out the new Buick a couple months after that. After that, let's put GMC's new truck line out. And Disney used to do it like that. And they don't do it like that anymore. They don't compartmentalize things. And if you had a Marvel season, a Star Wars season, and you had the animation alternating, they would be doing a lot better. And you need someone to just get in there and organize it and put it on a calendar and say, okay, this is coming out now. Wait for this. Because like you said, then you get Solo coming out 5 months after Last Jedi.
The problem with that is yes, it's Disney, but it's not really Disney. I mean, it's still Marvel Studios. It's still Lucasfilm Studios. It falls under the Disney umbrella. I mean,
but that's
Disney just distributes it and throws money at them.
Yeah, they say, here's go make another Star Wars movie. Here's $10 billion. Go, whatever.
And then they push it out to Hulu or Disney Plus or the theaters. That's all they do.
Yeah,
I think it's also the quality. The quality has been down, and if say you're a sandwich shop and you have a bunch of sandwiches and they all suck, people aren't going to go to your sandwich shop. It's.
But on the flip side of this, devil's advocate here, and I think there's still a couple of us that lived in the time period between 1985 and 1999. Not even 99. I'd go 96, where there was nothing Star Wars. We had 99 was when Zahn wrote his novels. So, or 91, I'm sorry, was when Zahn wrote his novel. So there was a time where we had nothing. We were growing up and we had the 3 movies, we had the 3 novels for the movies, we had the 3 solo books, and we had the 3 Calrissian books.
But
and some
video
comics,
stores
right?
were still open, and we were still renting them.
But again, it was only the 3 movies. Oh, and we had the holiday special, which, by the way, I think today is Life Day. So happy Life Day to everybody.
Oh man, I got to go watch Grandpa Wookie get his lap dance.
I know, right? Go watch Grandpa Wookie, watch the intergalactic pornography, and have fun with that. And watch B. Arthur sing.
And Mark Hamill not forget how to blink.
Yes, it's all on YouTube. Go watch it. It's an amazing masterpiece.
Is it on Disney Plus too?
Actually,
No.
Yes.
What?
Yes. Go to Disney Plus, go to the Star Wars, and go to the retro section of Star Wars, and the cartoon that Lumpy watches is there. And the only reason that cartoon is there is because that was the first appearance of Boba Fett.
But not the actual special.
No, not the whole special, just the cartoon, just a little, 5-10 minute cartoon that they watch.
Because I think that special is pushed deep back in the vault with Song of the South. I don't think it's getting out.
It's on YouTube. Go watch it on YouTube. You can watch it 3 or 4 different places on YouTube.
I remember watching that when it was on TV live.
Yes.
The one time.
The one and only time.
Were you freaked out by Mark Hamill's weird spray tan?
I didn't care. It was Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was right after the movie, and it came out, and I couldn't wait for more Star Wars.
And that's the way we need to be feeling about all of the stuff that's coming out now. I don't care. It's Star Wars, except for Resistance. You can avoid Resistance like the plague. But other than that, go. It's all.
I mean, I'm with you on that, and I still like it. But the problem is, marketing to new audiences is a lot harder, just because they've mishandled the brand. I mean, I think.
Well, when you look at Disney Plus and you bring up that home screen, and it's 7 or 8 slides before you get to Andor, and then it's not in the list below, and you have to actually go and click on Star Wars and then scroll down to find Andor. No one's going to watch it. No one's going to hunt it out.
The interface is terrible. Yeah.
Even like there's a section on there called New to Disney Plus, and with all the Marvel shows, when the new episodes drop, that would be like first in line. That's the newest thing on. We just dropped a new episode of WandaVision or She-Hulk or whatever. But with Andor, it's not like that.
You know what's number 1 that comes up when I turn on Disney Plus?
Mine is Limitless, the Chris Hemsworth.
I get that. What is it? A Grogu cartoon?
Oh,
that's the first thing that pops up. A Grogu cartoon. I'm not going to watch.
My kid has watched the Mickey Mouse Halloween special on repeat, so I've literally seen it 70 times. I'm done with Disney Plus. I just want to put my head through the TV every time my kid wakes up.
So Debbie and I think you and I and Chris talked about this on Monday night, was this Grogu cartoon, which
I didn't get it.
It was.
Maybe I'm not supposed to.
Was that the thing that was done by Studio Ghibli?
Yeah, yes. That's the one.
It's 3 minutes long, and
it's really, really dumb.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
I mean, I got it, I understood it, and I saw where they were trying to do with it. And as far as an art piece goes, as something that looks, like it was, it looks like an anime is what it looks like. It's Star Wars Visions, but not really, because it's only like 4 minutes long. But it's for what it is. It's go watch it for 4 minutes. You can afford 4 minutes of your life. Go watch it and make.
Not at my age.
But I do think Disney has to find a way to connect Star Wars to the younger generation, though, because the way I see it, it's kind of like I was talking with my mother-in-law. I'm comparing it to baseball. There's a lot of baseball fans, but there's not a lot of young baseball fans. Yeah. And it's up to the older fans And the older fans are not like my daughter will be introduced to Star Wars. She'll, as soon as she's old enough, we'll start watching everything. I'll even watch the new trilogy with her. Everything she'll get the full tour. But a lot of people aren't doing that anymore. They're, like you said, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's just
there's a lot of people that are original trilogy and original trilogy only.
Well, actually, I was gonna kind of bring that up here. So part of the problem, and I've seen this happen. So it's unfortunate, but I've seen this happen. So what with the sequel trilogy, that they tried to market to a new demographic, a younger audience. They tried to bring in fresh ideas with familiar themes to kind of bridge the gap, so to speak. But part of the problem, it wasn't the quality of the movies that was kind of alienated the younger audiences. It was the people telling those audiences that they're not allowed to enjoy it. I watched one of those like father and daughter react to something or other. I think they were watching the Ahsoka and Maul duel from Clone Wars, and the father and granted, this daughter was like 7 years old. The father nudged the daughter, and he was like, "Oh, this is so much better than anything the sequel trilogy did." And she was like, yeah." And, it's sad.
Yeah, there was that, but I'm also going to kind of disagree with you because the sequel trilogy had no cohesiveness. Abrams and Rian, or Ryan? Is it Rian? How do you pronounce that? Rian Johnson?
We call him Ryan here, so
okay.
We're in America, Dad.
It's just spelled differently.
I call him Crying Johnson because he goes on Twitter and complains about the fans.
Well, J.J. Abrams doesn't have an original bone in his body. I think he wakes up and watches his wife brush her teeth, so he knows what to do. He doesn't have. He recreated A New Hope, and that was pretty much the first of the sequel trilogy. But there was also no cohesiveness. He obviously didn't talk with Rian Johnson. You had The Last Jedi do its own thing. Then you went back, and then there were plot holes, and then there was just things that were left unsaid and things that were left unaddressed. And it ended up being a mess. Now, you look at all three movies standing on their own, they're all right. But as a whole trilogy, it's like looking at an abstract painting. It makes no sense. The Last Jedi, really, I know you like the movie, but it really stands out from the other two because it's kind of like, well, that you hit the third one. It's like, well, that happened. And then they just keep going. So, I mean, I think a little bit of what you said is true, but the quality of the movies doesn't really, in my opinion, even stand up to the prequel trilogy. Lucas had a vision and had everything lined up, and these guys did not. And they just kind of flew by the seat of their pants. And even Rian Johnson said, I don't know much about Star Wars, or he said something along those lines when he made The Last Jedi. So he did it for the paycheck. And Abrams is just, in my opinion, overhyped. And I think that they just could have done a lot better. And I think they just dropped the ball with the sequel trilogy. And I think it just suffered.
It's interesting that you say that about Rian Johnson because oh gosh, blanking on his name now. Who directed Empire?
Irvin Kershner.
Irvin Kershner said the exact same thing when he was approached by Lucas. And this is in if you watch Galaxy of Dreams, it's on Disney Plus. He was approached by Lucas and he said, "Do you want to do the next Star Wars movie?" And he was like, "No, I don't know anything about that. I don't know what I want to do with that." And then his agent came up to him and said, "Are you insane? It's Star Wars. Do it." Crazy? Didn't you see what that first movie did?
Well, you also have to remember that there are also studio heads that weren't just yes men. Like there were certain things that George Lucas wanted to do, and Gary Kurtz just said, "No, we're not doing that. You have to scale it back because that's not going to work."
But George Lucas also, I think they should have kept him on as a consultant. Sorry to interrupt you, Debbie. I think they should have kept him on as a consultant. I think he kind of came on and he had the notes for what he thought it should be done, and they thought they knew better than the man that created it, and they disregarded his notes and they disregarded his outlines and they went their own way with it. And I really think they should have kept him on.
Yeah, but didn't he want to do a trilogy on the midichlorians? Wasn't that his storyline for the sequels?
I remember reading about that. It was like the midichlorian microverse or something.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to watch that shit.
Let me quote George Carlin from Dogma now. Okay, mistakes were made.
But with the sequel trilogy, I see what they were trying to do. They were trying to, Force Awakens is New Hope, but I think they were trying to bring back that feeling, that sentiment for the older audience, while introducing the newer characters that they were hoping would carry on the Star Wars franchise for the next 10, 15 years, whatever. And I think that's what they were trying to do, because the first film, they killed off Han, then they killed off, they didn't kill off Leia, but
they killed Luke.
She died. But
Luke died in The Last Jedi.
Luke died in Last Jedi.
Luke died in Last Jedi, and Leia died in Rise.
Then they did the fake out with Chewbacca.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh no, Chewie, and then he's just like, nope, on this ship.
But I think that was their way of going out and then ushering in these new characters. They just went about it awfully. I mean, it was just
and both of you have said this, and I know I'm fairly certain I've said this before, and this is my thought on all of this as far as the sequel trilogy goes. Force Awakens, most of the fans looked at Force Awakens and said, oh, look, they just remade A New Hope, which was like, oh, hey, do you remember this? And it was the member berries, right?
Yeah.
But they said, no, we want new Star Wars. We don't want the original. We don't want Star Wars again. We want new Star Wars. And so they brought Rian Johnson, and Rian Johnson said, okay, fine. You want new Star Wars. Here's something new and different, and not what you're expecting. And people were like, you ruined Star Wars. Go back to where it was regular Star Wars. It's like, you ding-dongs were the same ones.
But for the love of God, Carrie Fisher, Mary Poppins herself back onto a spaceship from deep space. Come on, what are you doing?
She wasn't in deep
space.
It's
been done before.
One, she wasn't.
Kanan did it in
We've seen much more ridiculous things in Star Wars, and Kanan did the same thing in Rebels.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
So, I mean, it's not like the precedent wasn't there.
And also, too, something else you got to remember, and this was actually addressed at, gosh, I forgot who put it up there, but Leia was still within the shielding of the ship. She was not actually in space. She was just in space. She was.
I just might be bitter because they killed my boy Akbar. I just think I might be a little bit bitter because of that.
I don't mind them killing Akbar, but make him the one that sacrifices himself and not Haldo, who we met 5 minutes ago and don't care about.
Oh, yeah, that would have been good. I can go with that.
And even Mark Hamill had a problem with his character, though, because he in later interviews said that this isn't Luke Skywalker. And he had a problem with it. But
he had a problem with it, but I looked at Luke in that one, and everybody was like, "Oh, not my Luke Skywalker. My Luke Skywalker wouldn't do that." And it was like, your Luke Skywalker would have done exactly that, because look who his masters were: Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda. And what happened to them? They both failed, and what did they do?
Exiled
themselves. They went and exiled themselves.
Yeah, I mean, people watched the last Jedi, and they wanted, God mode, super powerful Luke Skywalker, and I get that.
No, it was
that's
what
super
did you want
exciting.
Me to do? Go take on the First Order with a laser sword?
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, whenever you watch the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, Luke's episodes in Book of Boba Fett, and the stories of Luke that are coming out in the books and comics, I mean, we're getting that. It just takes time. It just takes time to get to these things. I mean, because how long does a book take to write? How long does your movie take to produce? I mean, we're gonna get the things that we want. It just takes time to get to those things.
So let me ask John and Cam, because I see them as being the writers of the group, based on Cam, your videos, and John, what you write for on the website. If there was a character that you could grab from the sequel trilogy and turn it into a Disney Plus show along the lines of Andor that filled in the gaps of how the First Order became the First Order and didn't just appear with these giant, massive ships, who would that be?
Finn, all day.
Probably Ben Solo. And see here's the thing. Well, we got touches of it here and there with projects like the Rise of Kylo Ren and things of that nature. The Battlefront game kind of touched on it a bit. But as of right now, the origins of the First Order are still kind of left to speculation because that particular event, the actual creation of the First Order, just hasn't been covered yet. I mean, that's what the expanded universe and future projects are going to be for.
I can
I think some of these shows will be leading into
you could probably see some touching on it on Mandalorian.
I probably would have focused on Snoke just because I had so many questions, and that character was snuffed out so quickly. And
I was actually watching Mandalorian season 2 yesterday, and Snoke is. I'm still dead set on that. Snoke was in the Mandalorian season 2.
So I probably
we know
raided
from
the Imperial facility on.
We know from last week's episode that Snoke can't swim, so
can't crawl out.
Andor's just an origin story for Snoke. That's what it is.
You know what? I wouldn't doubt. I think that would be awesome.
It's like reverse Avatar. Snoke can't swim. Vader hates sand.
and right now, see, this is how I think it's kind of going to go. So right now in current canon, the origins of the First Order are kind of vague. Basically, it says, okay, the remnants of the Empire were fled to the unknown regions, came back 3 decades later as the First Order. So we know that Ahsoka's looking for Thrawn. We're thinking that Thrawn probably ended up in the unknown regions whenever he and Ezra got blasted off by the Purrgil. So who's to say that Thrawn didn't start the First Order?
Can I say something about going back to the Rise of Skywalker? Wouldn't it have been so much better if Snoke had lived through the trilogy and he ended up being Palpatine's son rather than Palpatine being cloned?
Well, I don't know about Palpatine's son, but okay. So Dave and Debbie know this. I love The Force Awakens. I love The Last Jedi. I'm meh about The Rise of Skywalker because I feel like it backtracked on a lot of what those two films set up. So John, your comments about the trilogy not feeling cohesive, but past those two films, I mean, obviously, I opinions are subjective. I think about those two films the way that I do, and you think about them the way that you do. But past those two films with The Rise of Skywalker, once we get to that film, 100% agree with you.
Yeah. Well, if everyone agrees with me on everything, I'm doing things wrong. So
you're damn right.
We'll start with that hat.
See, now this is the way Star Wars fandom needs to be. We can sit around and talk about it and have a conversation and sit here and agree. You like that, and I like this, and we all still love each other because it's Star Wars.
We can all agree that Dave is not a true fan.
Oh, Dave Vermillion.
Well, at heart, it's the comic book collector in me. I'm a completionist. So even though I have so many bad things to say about the sequel trilogy, when I sit down with my daughter and we watch movies, we'll watch Attack of the Clones. We'll watch the sequel trilogy. Yeah,
we love the Attack of the Clones on this show.
I do.
I like
that's
it.
The romantic in me.
But see that brings it back to my comments about the expanded universe making the movies better, because the book Brotherhood made Attack of the Clones so much better for me, and I don't hate that movie. I just kind of dislike it, but that book made it a lot better for me.
I mean, but at the same time, people are always going to have problems with Star Wars. Like my dad had a problem with not the Last Jedi, with Return of the Jedi. He couldn't see how a empire that conquered galaxy after galaxy got defeated by Teddy Ruxpin. So and he'd always say that.
You know what? So, I remember 1980. I remember Memorial Day weekend 1983. We went to the Irving Mall, and we watched Return of the Jedi for the first time, and we all walked out of there going, we were talking about it and everything, and we got back to we were staying with my grandparents. I lived in Irving at the time, and my mom didn't go, and she was like, "Well, how was it?" And it was like, "It was great. The Empire was there, and they were," and then all of a sudden these teddy bears jumped out of nowhere, and they started killing them all. It was like, wow.
And one of them was Willow.
No, it didn't go that far. Willow didn't exist back then. Willow was what?
Oh, that was well after,
1988, 87, 88, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's also the other problem with Star Wars is if it's on TV, it's not an emotional experience if you're watching it with your kids. Like, you guys may not like Attack of the Clones. I don't like it as the movie, but because that is the first movie I took my son to see, it's special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Revenge of the Sith was the first movie I took him to see at a midnight show, waiting online for 9 hours.
Oh
so
my God.
that doesn't happen anymore. And to do it on television on a weekly basis, it's just not the same.
Well, I kind of differ with you on that because I have a lot of memories. My parents were divorced. And back then, if there's any young kids watching, yes, there were things called video stores, and they were wonderful. You'd go in, they all smelled the same, and it was great. You'd just go in and just walk around and have a great time and buy your candy and pick out a movie, and you had to physically hold it. You couldn't just choose it with a remote. But my parents were divorced, and every weekend, my dad would take me and my sisters to the video store. They'd rent their girly movie. And me and my dad would alternate between Indiana Jones and Star Wars. So watching it on a TV for me really kind of does still. It's not the same as the theater, but it brings up good memories.
And did you got pizza? It was a Friday night and you got pizza?
He lived in New York City. It was Chinese food.
Okay.
Outstanding.
So a video store in New York City, you weren't allowed to go around the corner through the doors that flopped back and forth.
The bead doors.
Some of them. RKO Video was kind of family friendly, but there were some seedy ones that we'd have to go to if they didn't have Star Wars. So yeah.
I spent some time working in a video store many moons ago, back 20 some odd years ago. But yeah, we had a cool back room. So anyway, all right. We have been right at this for an hour. We talked a lot about Andor, but we talked a lot about everything else too, which is great. Good conversation tonight. Debbie, did we miss anything?
The creepy part of the episode, which was Lita, Mon Mothma's daughter.
Oh yeah, what the hell was that?
Doing the chanting, which I think is
that like a cult or something?
I don't know if they're getting prepared to be. Because earlier they talked about arranged marriages on Chandrila.
Yeah, the Games of Thrones.
Yeah. So I think this is kind of like, part of that ritual or whatever. So maybe, and evidently the daughter's really into it. So
maybe Mon Mothma needs to talk to this banker guy and get the whole.
Well, I think. Debbie, you probably caught it, but now that we're bringing that up, Vel said, "You're not taking proposals, are you?" And Mon Mothma kind of paused and just said, "I'm in a lot of trouble."
Yeah, she's kind of forced to do it.
Now, does she think that Luthen screwed her over for all the money?
Where'd the money go? I mean, she's missing 400,000 credits.
Yeah.
FTX.
Luthen might have expended his. Luthen might have spent more than he thought he was going to. Sorry, I had to lower my voice. My wife's asleep. He might have overspent.
He just didn't care, and he just spent the way he wanted to spend it.
And I think he's. Well, obviously, he doesn't make it to Rogue One, so I think he knows how it's going to end for him, and I think he's just throwing the money out there and making sure everything sticks. So, yeah.
Okay. Anything
That
else?
was the only thing
Debbie?
we didn't
That
talk
was the only
about.
thing we didn't talk about. All right, cool. Shameless plugs time. Debbie, you got anything?
MCU Monday, 9:30 Eastern, same
talking
channel. We are talking Men in Black.
Men in Black.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yes, that's a Marvel. We can talk, and only the first 3, not that international one. That one's.
I haven't seen that one yet. I
I
would like to
noticed-
see it just because
It was actually
Hemsworth
pretty
in it.
good. My wife enjoyed it. We had free tickets and we went to see. She says, "Yeah, that was pretty good. I didn't think I would like that one, but it was pretty good."
Is that an accurate impersonation?
It's dead on balls accurate.
Wow. Cam, shameless plugs.
My latest episode of Cam and Focus went up the day before yesterday.
I watched it this morning. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that movie. So
Really?
no, I really had never heard of it, and now I really want to watch it.
Oh, it's so great.
I can't find it. I mean, I don't know where it's streaming or anything. So
I bought it on Blu-ray. So I don't do that streaming shit that y'all youngsters do.
Well, you know what? That's a good excuse because that's one of your favorite movies of all time. I can see you wanting to own a hard copy. Like I own a hard copy of all the Star Wars movies just because. Yeah, I know I can stream them anywhere, but I like having the.
Was that the Everything Always All at Once?
Everything Everywhere All at Once. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have that. That's on my list to watch. I haven't sat down and watched it yet.
I don't know what it is.
It's very good, but it was produced by Studio A24, so it's also very artsy. But man, it's so good. It's so good.
Cam and Focus for this, and you will want to watch it. It will make you want to watch it.
One of us.
Other than he gives away a kind of a spoiler at the end, but I forgot already what the spoiler was.
Cam, have you watched RRR yet?
No, that has been on my radar for a minute. I do want to watch that.
Yeah, I'm that's another one that is on my list.
Now,
Those two are high.
Is that like a Bollywood kind of film?
It is, yeah. It's
okay.
I don't know if they call it Bollywood because there's like a whole bunch of different new studios now, but it is, yeah, Indian.
Okay, John, shameless plugs.
I cracked my knuckles and got back to my desk. So I pumped out 2 articles this week. One is about James Gunn and the DC universe, and I'm very optimistic about it. I think he's going to take it into great directions. And the second one was about Margot Robbie's Pirates of the Caribbean being canceled. Well, coincidentally, Johnny Depp has softened his stance on returning to the franchise within the same week.
No.
So maybe there's something there, and I'm keeping my eye on it because that might be a follow-up article.
You guys going to watch National Treasure next week?
National Treasure?
Yeah, the new series.
No Nick Cage, though.
Oh, come on.
No.
Supposedly.
No.
I'm hoping he'll come in, but I don't know.
I've been watching Mighty Ducks Game Changers.
I love that show. Has anyone seen the show Community?
I've heard of it.
Yes.
It was on NBC for a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's an episode of the show. It's about the antics of a community college, obviously, and there's an episode of the show where one of the characters takes a class called Nicolas Cage, Good or Bad, and and the professor warns the entire class before he's like, I assure you, there is no answer to this question. Please space your movies out. You will go crazy if you try to watch everything all at once. And the guy's trying to figure out whether Nicolas Cage is good or bad. So he slowly goes insane.
Have you guys
I
seen
like the majority of Nick Cage movies?
Have you seen The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent?
Oh, that's so good.
No, I haven't, but
It's such a good Cage film.
So good. It is so good.
Okay, John. Other John, shameless plug.
I I was going through my garage and I found a box of DVDs, and I'm going to do the Geek and I reacts to 1977's Soap.
Oh, that was such a great show.
So
oh my god.
I will either get massive ratings or canceled, depending on how this show is played on YouTube.
That was that was a classic back in the day.
I'm currently editing episode 1, and that should be posted probably tomorrow.
Cool. All right. Well, it's been another Thursday night. It's been another week in the happy hour. We're not sure if we're going to be back next week because next Thursday is Thanksgiving. Possibly do Wednesday night instead because then it's not Thanksgiving and it's still fresh on our minds. We do have the season finale coming up. So if not, we'll be back the following Thursday. But it's up in the air. Just watch Geek News Now on Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and all that other stuff, and you'll get I always post out and say, hey, we're going to go live. Come watch us. So join the Facebook, join the page, hit the like button, smash the alerts, little bell thing, all that kind of fun stuff. Do it with all the social medias. We're all over everywhere. Everyone have a great, great week and a great Thanksgiving if we don't see you, and we'll see you next time.